All right, kids, I've told you so many times that it will be easy for me, a black, smart aleck know-it-all, to make it in conservative media, but I've never shown you proof.
But when I listen to her talk, it just irks my soul. Like, it feel like I got a nagging wife in the house that just don't know how to act. It's insufferable.
But you do want to build some wall.
Yes,
I want to strengthen our board.
They need to have a show on Fox.
That was the Cartier family. We're going to talk about them today. Along with appearing on Fox News and making names for themselves on right-wing media, they've gotten to meet stars of the conservative circuit, politicians and pundits. And recently, they were invited to the Legacy of Freedom Ball presented by Black Conservative Federation, getting billing as a special or celebrity guest featured next to Antonio Brown with his CTE symptoms scheduled to appear. Here's a little bit about the Cartier family from the website for their clothing brand, Can't Fold. The Cartier family was founded in April of 2020 in Lafayette, Louisiana. They met as teammates on the University of Louisiana Raging Cajun track and field team. The COVID-19 virus canceled their track season, so they decided to start a YouTube channel. They have come a long way since then, according to them. I mean, in less than 5 years, they have racked up more than 515 million views with 1.43 million subscribers as of this recording. And they're selling this $35 t-shirt of Trump grabbing a black woman by the So there you go, liberals. Equal opportunity. See, the Cartier family got their start on YouTube reacting to songs and music they hadn't heard before. Well, their very first video is of them at a BLM protest maybe, which gives them a little bit of a why I left the left type of flow. Here they are describing how they went from reacting to Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, and Ariana Grande's music to being vocal Trump supporters.
Yeah, well, we got Thomas Sowell really good.
Thomas Sowell flipped the book for real for us.
Yeah, no,
That dude's
really
a
did.
legend.
No, he is.
Yeah.
He is. We did his video on he explained how black culture came to what it is. That's probably one of our best videos. It's got 1 million. And I think that really opened our mind up to maybe things are a little differently than we've been led to believe.
Yeah.
Thomas Sowell. My subscribers and regular viewers probably saw that coming because those who have watched me long enough, and as I've said previously, you can't be an online leftist without someone suggesting his works. And apparently, it happens on the right too. I would just like to add that of all the people within my political ideology, I show the most respect to Thomas Sowell. I recognize him as the granddaddy of all uncles, if you know what I mean. The Cartier family readily receives recommendations for videos to respond to. They've covered Officer Tatum, Ben Shapiro. Vivek Ramaswamy was actually on their show in person. And topics have included wokeness, ghetto black women, Democrats being triggered, race hustlers, oddly, a lot of stuff from The View, and making another man part of their personality. Before I continue, the Cartier family later told Tim Pool,
Okay, so all these years, when black people were really going through things getting out of slavery and this and that, and we fought for freedom to make your own decisions. So now that we're finally, we're here, not finally, we've been free, but now that we're here, 2024, 2025, and it's y'all are still in this mindset that it's we all have to think the same way, even though we're free. And now it's everyone can go to school, you can do all these things, we have all these opportunities, but we're still sitting here crying about racism and all these things. And I think it's just from the perspective that we have.
So, based on their commentary, let's look at their perspective and point of view. I've watched the Cartier family, and I'm going to focus on how they provide little to no analysis or insight. And as you're about to see, Brandon, Tahj, Brock, and Solomon might need someone to review clips with them. Now, I first heard about the Cartier family when J. William J., I'll include his TikTok in the description below, covered this clip of them watching PragerU and Candace Owens.
White people were the first to formally put an end to slavery.
You do know that?
In 1833, Britain was the first country in the...
I'm learning, man.
Learning, they're learning. Nothing wrong with that. I learned 2 things after watching so many clips of the Cartier family. 3 if you include how my YouTube algorithm will be destroyed for a while. 1, you don't see them or won't see them reacting to leftist progressive content too often, unless they consider CNN to be on the left, and I bet they do. 2, they rarely have their phones or tablets or laptops out to fact check anything. And to give them credit, they did look into if there's modern day slavery in Africa, as Candace said, and there is slavery there to this day. There's also slavery in Russia and China. they likely got the wrong lesson from this. Real quick, Haiti liberated themselves before, quote, white people were the first to formally put an end to slavery. As for the 300,000 Union soldiers, overwhelmingly white, who died in the Civil War, who were they fighting? White men. If the Cartier family is watching this, I can't leave out any info for them to not look into. It was white men.
And who wants that?
I don't want them to take any of this as disrespect or for anyone to claim that I think the Cartier family is stupid. On the contrary, they're educated. I think all 4 of them have bachelor's degrees. 2 of them either have or are working on their master's. No, I just don't think they know what they're talking about. Plus, they not only represent Gen Z men that have swung to the right, but they are 4 of the statistically few young black men whom Republicans have claimed would vote for Trump in large numbers. And I don't need to tell you that they say the economy is important to them. The Cartier family has been tweeting about it. Young people want a better economy. Well, is the Republican going to give it to them? In general, Republican presidents have presided over all the major recessions since I've been alive. While I won't outright place the blame on Reagan, Bush, and Trump for those downturns, or blindly trust infographics like this one, I recognize that I haven't been around a very long time. So to me, it just seems like the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. But I can't just take my own word for it.
And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, I mean, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
And I wasn't going to make this episode about the Cartier family until I saw them say, this is just Bidenomics in action. The economy needs Trump, when reposting a tweet from Robert F. Kennedy. And then there's more people trust Trump with the economy after the debate. Finally, replying to someone else with, opportunity economy is the opportunity for the government to overspend more of our tax money. I may be using them to talk about the economy. Not that this is an episode about the economy. Make my eye itch. Inflation is currently at like a 2.7, which is the high end of any point during Trump's first term in office. And still, my Uncle Ben's cost too much. I simply want to know if Donald can decrease the price of my groceries. A compromise could be 3/5. I don't think so, but don't take my word for it. He's already backtracked on previous promises, saying it's hard to bring prices down once they're up. In particular, if I were to show you these graphs showing unemployment rate, real median household income, total non-farm payroll employees, GDP growth, S&P 500, and the federal surplus or deficit, kind of definitely seems like things were already on track. The trajectory was there, on pace to win, like, and the Cartier family will get this, getting handed the baton in a relay race with a huge lead. But don't just take my word for it.
4 years, no inflation. I had 4 years, no inflation.
But that was when you had much.
I had 4 years. It's better than that. And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me.
We'll get back to that segment way later, by the way. It speaks to the Cartier family's analysis and insight, or lack thereof. And I'm not saying Trump didn't do anything. Again, I'm asking, what did he do? Every Trumper who is suddenly into the economy should answer this. What could he have done in his first 2 years to bring about progress? I was under the impression that the impact of policy isn't usually seen for 4 to 6 years after the decision was already made. This takes us to response lag, also known as impact lag. Response lag is the time it takes for monetary and fiscal policies designed to smooth out the economic cycle or respond to an adverse economic event to affect the economy once they have been implemented. This article also says the impact of tax cuts or changes in government spending is more immediate, although they also affect the long-run trend rate of economic growth. With 45 merely days away from being inaugurated as 47, his supporters believing that he will get us back to where we were 4+ years ago is an understatement. It's understated how he got us there. Not so much on the cause, but the effect, the results, but not what came before it. Some that could explain the concepts of a plan aren't. No matter, the Cartiers will just say they're obliterating CNN for attacking Trump's booming economy anyway.
Where's the rest of the economic plan?
Well, why don't you just look at his track record for the last the term that he had? No inflation, fantastic wage growth. I mean, look, he actually sat in the seat at the White House. You may not like what he did.
President
you may not like
Trump
him,
was president in 2020.
but I don't remember 9% inflation when he was around.
I remember 18% unemployment.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
I remember
COVID, dumbass. Oh, I don't like her.
You know what? Did you catch that? When Kevin O'Leary said he doesn't remember 9% inflation, referring to Biden's economy, which could be attributed to COVID, Catherine Rampell replied, I remember 18% unemployment, referring to Trump's economy. And the Cartier family attributed what she said to COVID.
Because she reads books and comments on it. Her opinion is invalid. And she's sitting here getting riled up and yelling. You don't know.
The ESPN analyst, you don't do it. And she's not even letting him talk. He's supposed to be
and Abby over here talking about, well, let her finish. No, I don't want her to finish because she's spitting nonsense.
In my studies.
He said there's
They could really use someone to watch this with them.
We do this all the time on CNN. You give a man and a woman's opinion, and the women always argue with emotion and some shit they read in a book.
Who's in their feelings here? Cartier's? O'Leary talked over Catherine several times and avoided answering a couple of her questions when she got him. And the Cartiers let that slide. And if the argument they're making is that, based on their analogy, they'd rather hear an NFL wide receiver talk about football than a mere commentator because they've actually been in the game, then doesn't that make anything that the Cartier family says outside of track and field invalid? Thomas Sowell, who often goes to studies, stats, numbers, data, less so in that video about black culture, which blew their minds and set them on their way to being conservatives. How does that count? He wasn't even around when poor whites supposedly influenced black folks. And how would Trump be fit to be a politician when he was and is a businessman? Oh, they believe a country should be run like a business? Okay.
Here's what I think. He's going to extend the tax cuts. He's going to rein in the federal government and the overburdensome regulatory state, which he can now do because of the Supreme Court. And he's going to take on these countries that screw American workers. That's the plan. And by the way, he's going to crack down on immigration to the benefit of American workers.
He's going to deport 20 million people, the people who pick your crops.
So more of the same from Trump. And a Republican not bringing up the national debt when talking about the economy? Weird. Wonder what that's about. We'll see if what Scott Jennings said is the plan. Oh, and if he's not a policymaker, why is he talking about it? Them's the rules. The Congressional Budget Office estimated in 2018 that Trump's tax cuts would increase deficits by about a couple $2 trillion over 11 years. That's part of the $7.8 trillion increase in the national debt incurred during Trump's administration. This represented the nearly 25% of the $31 trillion national debt accrued up until 2 years ago. And if someone were to say that Obama added more to the outstanding debt, over the course of his 8 years in office compared to Trump's 4, so far, Donald built a large national debt before the pandemic. Don't try it. Tariffs did eat up a portion of it, but not enough. The Cartiers will go on to talk about undocumented individuals, although they didn't refer to them that way. It's as if they can be replaced in the workforce doing jobs that Americans don't want to do. Add that to the fact that they pay billions in taxes. It's no secret that Trump wants mass deportations, and so that's going to cost us money in multiple ways. We just relearned a few weeks ago, I talked about it last episode, MAGA wants to bring on more H-1B visa entrants into the labor market. For 60 plus years, South Asians and East Asians have taken up occupations, earned them, that white America wouldn't do or couldn't do, which was and is a boon for the economy. In other words, the right is replacing some brown people with others and villainizing some brown people, not others. Watching so much Cartier content, I was caught off guard by how incurious they can be. Remember, theirs was purely a reaction channel, and that must have turned into reactionary takes. Y'all want to see my reaction to them getting close to being inquisitive?
I got a question
What
though.
was even the reason to bring this up, though?
So if they have low wages of crop pickers, why is fruit and vegetables and groceries still higher in the grocery store? It's low wages for people. To actually,
I thought machines was doing that.
Come
machines
on.
are, but like
I'm not an economist, so I don't know if I can continue to speak to this. However, price gouging, corporate greed, rewarding shareholders, accelerated CEO salaries. Don't forget, McDonald's and other restaurants were saying they needed to lay people off due to an increased minimum wage in California. It's much more complex than what I'm making it seem. Supply chain, consumer demand, government spending, the war in Ukraine, pay raises, all played a part with increased inflation. I go to price gouging though, because corporations have been overtly boasting about record profit. Be that as it may, the profit margin of, say, grocery stores is low though. The onus from the right is more on workers and labor over Trump's tax cuts. Weren't they supposed to save jobs? Those tax cuts, which, among other things, lowered the top corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, led to Lowe's laying off nearly 2,000 workers and offered them zero severance despite collecting billions in savings from the tax law. Something about buying back shares somewhere in the $10 billion range. That per CBS Money Watch. AT&T almost benefited the most when they got an estimated $42 billion tax bonus. Although the Communications Workers of America union said that AT&T, which promised to hire 7,000 workers shortly after the tax cut, had instead cut nearly 28,000 jobs since late 2017. Reportedly, the CWA's job calculations include any layoffs that may have happened as a result of AT&T's 2018 merger with Time Warner. TCJA, the tax plan that we're still under because Biden couldn't do anything about it with Congress leaning right, or didn't want to do anything about it due to him serving corporations that mother. And Obama said Trump didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts while claiming that Trump's economy was pretty good because it was Obama's economy. Can't stress that enough. Something that Donald can't deny. This was the Cartier family's idea of dealing facts.
So when Donald Trump came in, he brought his tax cut policy in, which cut taxes across the board for everybody in our country. Couple the fact that he did cut massive regulations from the Obama administration. And what did we see? Economic growth in the United States went from 1.5% under Barack Obama to 3.5% under Donald Trump. Wages adjusted for inflation, like I said, because it's the truth, increased for every subgroup of Americans in our country. The wealth gap was closing. We were actually booming economically far more than we did under Barack Obama.
All that caping from Byron, and Donald didn't even give him a seat in his administration. Not bad though. No word on national debt. But if he's talking about wages, paychecks growing faster than prices, yes, here it is. If he's talking about the consumer price index, also yes, seen here. A caveat, of course, is what Obama inherited from Junior Bush. Trump's record in creating manufacturing jobs is also solid out of context. Look, since 1989, 51 million jobs have been created in America. 49 million, or 96%, have been created under Democratic presidents. Essentially, all of them over 35 years, said Simon Rosenberg. And that's a weird, random starting point, isn't it? Longer than the Cartier family has been alive. However, even going back 72 years, Democratic presidents still create more jobs at a 2-to-1 advantage. Before I close on this not video about the economy, I wondered if the Cartier family's videos were recommended to me. They were mentioned in my comment section, and evidently someone suggested this video I made to them about gun violence, and I dared them to watch it and try to debunk what I said. This thumbnail is awful. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Cartier family's rhetoric on systemic racism. They pretend like talking about oppression is what's keeping us from opportunities. And if that were the case, then U.S. chattel slavery couldn't have had an impact because Frederick Douglass was the most photographed man of the 1800s, and he regularly discussed his reality. By that logic, Jim Crow couldn't have had an effect because Ruby Bridges made it, she frequently describes her past. Black people busting down boundaries and overcoming obstacles doesn't mean that they weren't there in the first place. Niggas have been clearing hurdles, they'll get that, for centuries. And these 4 YouTubers say what's really in the way is our awareness and acknowledgement of having more or less hurdles and whether they're higher or lower than the rest of the field. The point of all of this is some leftist progressive needs to watch videos with the Cartier family. I volunteer FD signifier as tribute. I don't know, is that even how it goes? I don't want to. They take a narrative and conspiracy theory that I have myth busted very seriously.
There's a conspiracy theory that racists intentionally promoted negative culture to black communities through rap music. And I'm not saying rap music itself is bad. I'm saying they put messages in there like get drunk, bang women,
for sure.
buy drugs and all that stuff, so that young men growing up would chase after something that was detrimental.
100%.
That's a fact.
Oh, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's 100% facts. Especially in the black community.
Yeah.
Where's my TYT peeps when you need them? Get Dan from the internet over there. Jessica Burbank. They probably wouldn't appreciate how smart and confident she is. I almost forgot. Y'all saw how the Cartier family responded to Kamala Harris and Catherine from CNN. Like these women were arguing with emotion from fear, made up theories on stuff that could happen versus the interviewer who was talking about what it is. Like those women were gaslighting and telling men that they were wrong. Stuff Trump does all the time, especially in the extended clip I showed towards the beginning of this episode. You know he does it. I don't even need to show you again, but here's how the Cartiers reacted to that nonsense.
Tried to check Trump. Trump wasn't going.
But it was so genuine, unscripted. Kamala just so scripted, bro. That's why I can listen to somebody.
This.
Exactly. That's what the other ones is painful because it's like you know what the person's gonna say.
She's rambling.
So watching the show, you already seen.
We haven't heard from Trump in a little minute, so that was refreshing, man.
You know what it was.
We've been hearing from Kamala. And it's been the same.
To be featured in their own show on Fox. Give it less than 5 years. We're going to be all right.
Hi, my name is Joshua. I study politics and economics for a living. Follow me on Instagram. Let's talk about economics in the black community. Biden's American Rescue Plan created 2.6 million jobs for black workers. The black unemployment rate went down to 5.2%. It's like 3.6% or something among white people. The gap between those two is the smallest ever in American history. Under the Biden administration, black wealth is up 60% because of some really key things that have happened in this administration. He got permanent authorization for the Minority Business Development Agency. The National Urban League has been trying to do that for like 30 years. The Biden administration got it done, and they increased the funding. The SBA doubled the number of loans going to black businesses, $1.3 billion in just 2023 alone. What does any of that mean? Well, the result was the percentage of black people owning a business in the last couple of years has gone from 5% to 11%. And the black businesses that do exist, have seen a 30% increase in payroll, 27% increase in revenue. The child tax credits, up to $3,000 per child, brought child poverty down to 8% in the black community. The official poverty measure by the United States Census Bureau had it at 29% in 2018.